Hi there guys, hope everyone's keeping well. Today, as you can see, we are finally having a look at Legend of Zagor. Now this is a game that's it's been a bit of a pet project for me for the last, what, 3-4 years I believe. I always been after a copy of this game for a long time, and it's, I mean, a complete or almost complete copy on eBay has been going for like 150, 200, sort of thereabouts price on eBay. So I've not been able to pick one up, but a few years back I managed to get like a job lots of the plastic, like the terrain pieces, the dungeon pieces, some bits of cards, some of the figures, some character sheets, but they weren't all in the best condition. So I was kept on the lookout for other listings and that, and then about a year later, someone was listing, I think it was all the card stock, so like all the cards, all the tiles, all the tokens, the character sheets, everything. So I picked that up and was quite lucky it was all complete. So I had that, I had the bases, I had most of the minis, I was just missing a few characters. So over like the last year, I picked up a couple of the heroes that I didn't have. The shopkeeper character, which I'll show you in a minute, which I didn't have, which was quite difficult to find. I managed to find him on eBay for a reasonable price. But the only thing I didn't have was a few of the models left to find and the box. And then last month, end of last month, I saw a listing on eBay for the box with pretty much most of the things. I think there was about half the minis, but all the card stock, everything was in there complete. The box was in lovely condition, so I had to grab it. I couldn't turn it down. It was for a really decent price. In fact, I think the seller actually sent me an offer and like knocked a tenner off the original price. So I grabbed it, and here we go. I finally have a boxed, about 98% complete Legend of Zagor, which we are now going to have a look at. So as you can see, here is the lovely box art. I remember this game when it first came out back in the early 90s, but I never picked it up. I was a fan of Fighting Fantasy, which this is based on. I had a few Fighting Fantasy books, and so did some of my friends at school. But yeah, here we go. And obviously the most unique thing about this is the 40K computer chip, which allows the game to talk to you. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any spare batteries to hand, so I couldn't get mine working. But I know it does work because I've had it running in the past. But unfortunately, I can't get it working for you today, which I suppose really is a blessing in disguise, because Zagor, the character's voice, is quite annoying after a while when he keeps going on at you. But yeah, so here we are. So here's the box. Just going to move that out of the way, and here is the game itself. Now, not a traditional game, like sort of like your Hero Quest from like the late 80s, and then you had like Space Crusades and Dark World and that, which was all on boards, whereas this is plastic molded terrain which you put together, and that forms your board. So like I said, we're just going to have a little look through. So one of the things that I didn't have at first was these little pieces of plastic. These form the rooms, so they're just a plastic cardboard tile, sorry. So originally I got a PDF of all the room tiles and printed them off, stuck them to a piece of cardboard like the back of a cereal box, cut them out. But then I managed to find a complete set, so obviously did away with my cereal packet copies and now I have the originals. So I've got all the room tiles. There's the shopkeeper I was talking about. He's quite a difficult one. I don't often see him pop up, but he was on an eBay listing on his own, so I picked him up. But then when I actually grabbed the box last month, there was also a shopkeeper in there. So now I have two of them, which is quite ironic considering I've not seen one for years, and then two suddenly pop up at once. But so, yeah, so this is an unusual game. So you sort of move around the dungeons, and this is the big bad guy up here. This is the actual bit that talks. So if I just move him out the way, that's Zagor. I'll show you him now. He's the big bad boss. But you have all these buttons here, and they all correspond to different characters, which you push and set up the game. And then I believe the middle button sets off the game. You sort of you know, push to say which characters are playing, like the barbarian and the warrior, or the wizard or the dwarf, how many players there are, and then the game remembers that, and then you take it in turns, going around the board, fighting. Then you push the button to indicate who's fighting a monster, and then the computer takes over and sort of generates numbers for that monster that you're fighting. And then you have to defeat it, and then once you've defeated it, you push a button again to say you've beaten it, and then you take a treasure card or so on and so forth. But yeah, it's quite an interesting concept. It's really clever how they designed it, but like I said, the voice does get quite annoying after a while. But let's have a quick look. So you start on this grey section here. As you can see, I'm missing a couple of monsters. Like I said, it's only about 98% complete. I am missing one zombie, I believe, and one skeleton. And on this section, I am missing a troll. So I've got all the other monsters on the higher level area, just missing one troll piece. But you start with your character on this section. You've got 4 characters to choose from. I'll show you the models. You've got the wizard. You have the barbarian. You have your dwarf. And then lastly, you have your fighter or your warrior. He's like a knight. You have him. And they each have their own character sheet. So what I was saying earlier about when you're controlling the you're fighting the monsters, once you push the button on the machine, it gives you random numbers. So it gives you, like, say, like if you're fighting a goblin, it'll tell you it has strength of 2 and stamina of 1. And then it generates numbers to try and defeat your strength and your stamina. And if it beats, the number beats what your strength is, you lose a point. And then you roll 10-sided dice. And if you defeat the strength score of the monster you're fighting, then it loses a stamina point. And then obviously once its stamina is down to 0, you then push the button and you've defeated the monster. So it's pretty straightforward, like I said. So there's the warriors one, there's the dwarf. They've all got their own sheets, the wizards, and finally the barbarian. So there we go. And then you also get another little reference sheet. This is for the tiles in the game, which I'll show you in a second. When you move around, you encounter different tiles, and they either have good or bad things happen to you. So here are the tiles. I've not put them all out, but imagine these tiles would be all over every single corridor section on this one. This one would have all the grey tiles. Once you move up to the level 2 area, you'd have the red tiles. And then once you get to the last area, which is Zagor's, there'd be 5 green tiles, which have the most difficult objects on. So this one is a leather pouch, so you take 3 gold. And then let's have a quick look and see what this one is. This one is a giant spider. You lose a stamina. And then over here, which is the most difficult one, vampire bats, you lose a stamina as well. So there'd be other different types you could either pick up. There'd be ones that would give you equipment. There'd be ones where you encounter a thief that would steal an item or a weapon. You'd encounter witches, wizards, all sorts of things. Some would lose stamina, some would help you. You'd find healing potions, torches, all sorts of stuff. So you move your way around the board. Like I said, if you decide to go into a room and fight a monster, you have to operate the talking box, that bit. And then if you defeat the monster, you take one of these treasure cards. No, you don't, because that's not a treasure card, excuse me. There we go. That's a treasure card. So you pick up one of these and you have to collect these as you go round the game. And I think you can carry about a maximum of 5 each. And every time you pick one up, once you get to the end here, where you face Zagor, the big bad boss, you the more treasure chest cards you have, you can actually reduce his stamina or his strength to make him easier to defeat in combat, which is quite a interesting concept. But yeah, so we'll have a quick look at all the other models. I've shown you the heroes. So like I said, you get zombies. There are some little goblins. You've got some orcs. Let's move that over a bit. There we go. That's better. Got some orc characters. Skeletons. I like the skeletons here. They remind me of the skeletons from Jason and the Argonauts. Quite cool skeletons. And then as you go up to the next level, you've got some ogres. You've got some, I believe these are Hell Knights or Death Knights, I can't remember. Something Knights. And then you've got this big demon called a Hellhorn. And then there is also a troll, which, like I said, unfortunately I don't have the troll. And then the last big bad before you face Zagor is the dragon. He's like Zagor's bodyguard. You have to defeat him before you can take on the big boss at the end. But it's like it's just a awesome little game. Like I said, you've got some lovely little details, some plastic terrain. That's Zagor's throne. As you move from the level 2 area up into Zagor's area, you've got this lovely plastic bridge, and you go under this archway. It's like a giant dragon's jaw. You've got the little bridge piece that you move from level 1 across to level 2. Yeah, it's really good. Really, it's a really unusual but very nostalgic game. Like I said, I never owned it when I was a kid, but always remember seeing adverts for it on the telly and seeing the pictures of it in like the Argos catalogue and the Index catalogue, but never got one, unfortunately. But there you go. That is Legend of Zagor. I mean, there's lots of other bits I haven't mentioned. You've got the treasure and spell deck. I'll show you a couple of these because they've got some lovely artwork, which reminds me of the fighting fantasy books. I mean, escape is like a skill. You've got speed, it's a spell. You've got life points. So that'll give you a stamina point back, I believe. But the artwork is really quite cool. It's the same one. Here we go. There's your merchant. And if you notice, there's a little cat in the background. And if you actually look at the merchant on the board, if I take him off, it might be easier for you to see. He actually comes with his own little cat on the model, just on by his feet there. Yeah. And the good thing about the merchant is as well, I forgot to say, is when you're playing the game, as you're moving around the first level, you can actually go to the merchant and buy yourself equipment. So you have a certain amount of gold you start with, so you could go pick up these little tokens. You could buy armor, you could buy a magic ring, You could buy an axe and it would give you bonuses in battle to fight the bosses. So if you look on the character sheet, if you were to pick up a chainmail, it would give you +2, helmet +1, and so on. So that would give you more strength. So the stronger you are, the more chance you have of defeating the enemies. And obviously when you get to the end, you definitely have more of a chance of defeating Zagor. But yeah, there you go. That is Legend of Zagor, or Zagor, however you prefer to say it. There's not really much else I can say really. I'm just really pleased that I finally have an almost complete copy, because like I said, I've been after this game for such a long time now, and it's been so difficult to find a boxed version because they were so expensive, and finding the box in such lovely condition as this is. I mean, there's no tearing around the boxes at all on the corners. There's no damage on the front. Let me just flip it around, I'll show you the back. Because the backs of the boxes back then were really cool. You've always got the kids sat round playing the game, but they don't actually look like they're playing the game. But there you go, there it is set up. And there's a little bit of sort of story of the game. But yeah, there you go. That is The Legend of Zagor. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, guys, and thanks for listening to me waffle on. I will see you all soon. Take care. Bye-bye.